no real
Mhm.
value is brought out of anything that's easy. You got to do the hard stuff. And that's the way you should approach things. If something's hard, if it's been eating you up, just do it. I
Mhm.
mean, just get it done.
Yeah. New leaders, you are going to make mistakes, and that is
Oh,
okay. That I am all the mistakes you are going to make is going to be okay. There is not, don't let any leader tell you that they had a perfect leadership journey coming up because they did not. And I say
no,
that because I've had experiences where it feels like, and I'm just like, no. Just people don't see customer service as an actual job, as a profession. Customer experience, it is a profession, it is a skill
mhm,
like every other skill, like an engineer, like a lawyer, like a doctor. And a lot of people say, well, anybody can do it. Anybody cannot do it because we've all had more poor customer service experience than good ones.
Hey, contact center customer experience friends. Welcome back to another episode of Contact Center Journeys. I'm thrilled today to welcome my guest, Bianca Price. Bianca Price is the HR Customer Service Experience Manager at Michigan State University and recognized ICMI thought leader and featured contributor specializing in the intersection of employee experience and customer experience. She is known for transforming service and contact center operations through people centered leadership, operational excellence, and data driven insights. Welcome to the pod, Bianca.
Thank you, Fred. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, as always, the intent of Contact Center Journeys is to inspire the next generation of CX and contact center professionals through sharing the stories of those people who've come up in the industry. We want to change the narrative that contact center and customer service jobs have no future. I personally have
Mhm.
met all over the world entrepreneurs, executives, technology people who started out as agents on the phone or even junior level leaders. And it's about time we celebrate these stories. So there are never any pitches in contact center journeys. As if you've been watching this, you know we don't
Yep.
sell
Mhm.
anything here.
Yep.
The whole point is to get this content out for free, share the stories, and hopefully inspire the next generation. Please
Absolutely.
feel free to use the content however you see fit. All we ask if you do use it, tag us in it.
Mhm.
And make sure you're following us on YouTube and LinkedIn, of course, and we'll have all of Bianca's information as well, so you can follow her. So, without further ado, tell us how you got into this crazy world of customer experience, Bianca.
Thank you, Fred. So it's very interesting. My forte into customer experience was not a straight line. I would consider myself a non-traditional CX leader. So really, I started in retail. I have a long background in retail management. I actually did fashion merchandising for Urban Outfitters. I worked as a manager at Sephora. I even worked at DSW. I worked at Forever 21 back in the day. And so I have a variety of retail skills, but all those roles prepared me for customer experience because that is hands on, in your face customer experience. But what really took me to the next level is when I started working for Sephora. So back when I first started working for them, Calvin McDonald, who is now the CEO for Lululemon, completely redid Sephora's culture. And Sephora has an amazing employee culture. They have training videos. They have values that they live by. It's embedded in everything that they do. And it's not really easy to get hired there. Even as a regular sales associate, you have to go through three interviews. They're serious about their customer service and they don't want any escalations. They want everybody to leave happy. And that's when I was able to cement who I was as a CX leader and what service really meant to me. So I started off there as a cash wrap coordinator. So I was in charge of the cash register, everything that went with that. At holidays, we would have to train 20 associates, and the line, Fred, would be to the door for 8 hours. So for 8 hours, I had to stand there and smile and look at customers all happy, even though when they got to the front and they would say, "This took too long." I don't like this. They had complaints. So you can kind of see it on customers' faces. But it taught me a valuable lesson. It taught me that customer experience resilience, that muscle that you have to build. And
Yeah.
working for Sephora really opened my mind up to what true customer experience is because they bent over backwards and still do for their employees and their managers. And so after seeing that up close, I was in school. I actually had a customer actually who she was a retired director for GM, worked in HR. And she would come in all the time and she goes, "Oh, you really need to work in HR. We really need somebody like you to work in HR." And I say, "Okay." So of course, you can't get experience without having experience, right?
Right.
Applied for many, many jobs, couldn't get it. So I was in school to get my master's degree and I ended up transferring to the state of Michigan as a student. And they
Okay.
took me in as a student. And 3 months later, I was hired on as a full time payroll technician after 3 months. Yeah. So because customer experience, internal and external, it does not matter where you work. It is the same
Yeah.
concept. So I got there and I seen the payroll techs were overwhelmed. They needed help. And so I went to them and said, how can I help you? What can I do?
Mhm.
And the more that they gave me, the more I did. And the more they gave me, the more I did. And so I ended up getting hired there and completely from a customer experience standpoint, right? Because when we think of customer experience in a contact center and those skills, we can think of it kind of narrowly, thinking like, okay, this is just for contact center. But all of those skills you talked about, that there's a cap or there's no growth in the field. I
Mhm.
want to tell everybody here today who works in customer service, customer experience, those skills that you have in that job are valuable and transferable for any job that you do.
Right.
And it is actually needed for a lot of different industries.
Mm.
So when I got there, I was in charge. I had to do payroll. I had to do about 600 approve and review 600 different payroll sheets for everyone every 2 weeks. Yeah. So just that was just mine, right? And by the time I left, I had
Wow.
800. Because what I did was, again, customer experience concept, streamline the processes, got the
Mhm.
feedback from the customers, I made about 20 SOPs, and by the time I left, everything was running smoothly. I had completely revamped it from the ground up. And how did I do that? Based on customer experience. Of course, when you're dealing with pay, people were upset. So I'm not going to sit up here and say it was just a smooth journey, right? One of the things that was really stressful. So every state has a general that's in charge of the National Guard. And
Mhm.
so one of my roles was I had to do payroll for our 5-star general and his 2 brigadier generals. Not stressful at all, right? No pressure.
No, no
No
pressure.
pressure. But here's what made it crazy, Fred. They did their payroll for the generals on an Excel spreadsheet.
Seriously.
On the Excel spreadsheet that was created in 1988. So, with that being said, lots of pressure to make sure that you're paying them because they have specific things that they need to be paid for. And I ended up revamping that process to make sure that they got paid correctly, that there was less mistakes. Because what was happening, there was a lot of mistakes, obviously, with the sales sheet. But I quickly realized the value in customer service. So I'll give you a little bit of growth opportunities that I had and challenges in that job. So this was for we supported the veterans. And so we had at the time 3 different homes that we supported. So these are nurses, doctors, CNAs, etc. And so they work off shift, so they don't sit at a computer like us. And so I would have to prompt them to enter in their time. And I would blind copy everybody. But then, of course, people will respond and they would do a reply all. And they would say something snarky or non professional or, to get under intended to get under the skin. But I had to step back and realize, just like in customer experience, it was not about me. They were not mad at me. There were other things going on. And so I had
Mhm.
to flex my customer experience muscles to how I respond to them. And it was so well that actually at the Grand Rapids location, the director sent an email to me and my boss and said, I need to be more like you. You handle this so well because a lot of them, but once people saw that they couldn't poke the bear and that there was no
Mhm.
response, everything kind of fell in line from there. And then
Yeah.
they began to trust me based on all those things. And so it was a really interesting um, job to be in to provide that direct customer experience to doctors who are serving veterans. I would go to the veterans home, I would do their orientation, I would talk to them. Employees would come to me with issues. And I think what really was very deeply like moving for me was once they trusted you forever. So if they had a
Mm.
problem, they would call me. They would call me first. They wanted to talk to me. They felt comfortable just telling me their problems. And it was such a rewarding experience to support people who were supporting our veterans.
Yeah.
With that being said, I'm a fast learner, so I quickly got bored in that job. After I had did everything, I was like, "Oh, well, what's next?" After that, and this was, so let me go back. In the middle of that, I had been at the job for about 2.5 years and COVID hit. Yeah. So we had to go home. Now, because of my, job, description and because my job title, I didn't have a laptop for I had to take my whole desktop home. Yeah. I had to take my whole desktop home, and of course, it was such a weird and interesting time,
Yeah.
and so what I had to do was a lot of the documents that we had on paper, I made them all digital, so we can still support all of our veterans and, their staff.
Yeah.
And so, fast forward, I ended up applying for a job at MSU in a unit. So we're decentralized. So meaning that centrally we have a central human resources, and then every different unit or college has their own human resources.
Okay.
Apply for a job there at the College of Human Medicine. End up getting the job. So I know this is going to sound odd to a lot of people, but I actually love to interview. Most likely because I like to talk. I do, I really like to interview. Well, because it's challenging and you have to really prove yourself to someone.
Mhm.
Somebody's asking you a question and you really have to be thoughtful about it. And so I end up working there. I had an amazing, support system there. I had 2 team members, one had moved to Texas, one is still here, who, further helped cement what customer experience means. So when I started at MSU, it was all virtual.
Mhm.
I didn't meet my team members until 4 months into the job, nor my boss in person. Yeah. And I had to learn everything virtually. Had never worked here before, had to learn all the systems. And my 2 team members were wonderful. Fred, they onboarded me, they supported me, they spent so much time making sure that I understood MSU and not just policies and procedures,
Mhm.
but the things that are not on paper that I need to know, which is also a very important aspect of customer experience.
Right.
So after about was in that job for about a year and a half, but about 9 months into the job, I took a professional development course. And one of my employees, when I currently got this role, called me and said, "Hey, you run that class with me. I would love for you to be my boss. They're creating this role. Would you consider applying for it?" She actually called my phone. I mean,
Mm.
she looked me up in the system and got my cell phone number and called me. And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I took a look at it, didn't think anything of it. So I came in and she was a level 10. The job she wanted me to apply for was a level 13. So I ended up applying for the job and I got it. Uh, I think what they were looking for here was a someone who not just had the technical capabilities, but someone with a customer experience heavy background
Right.
because the position was brand new and the person would have to create everything from scratch. There was nothing there. They had a resource guide, but it was the whole position had to be created from scratch. And
Mm.
so I started, and the role was a half HR, half customer experience job. So in this position, we kind of have a catch-all email and phone number. So if you go to the MSU website, you'll see Solution Center, phone number, email plastered on every single web page. So that is our main area that customers contact us. So it's two different sides. There's the employment side that I run with my team, and there's the benefit side. And so with those two different sides, we handle different things. So we pretty much handle everything that they don't handle. So this is for students, retirees, community members, faculty, staff.
Yep.
So that can be anybody, Fred. So I have VPs calling me. I have assistant vice presidents calling me. I have people from the president's office that call us. We touch every single department on campus, every single one. Registrar's office, admissions, everywhere. And so I end up getting here, and all that experience I just shared with you, all of that experience helped me create a role and an environment and a reputation that supersedes any and everything that I do. And it has been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. And I really relished in being able to build something because one of the main complaints was lack of responsiveness. And I had to create email templates. I had to train my staff on teaching people how to fish, right? We have repeat people, they come and, they got the same question time and time again. And so I would have them get on a Teams call with that person and I would kind of sit in the background and I would say, we're going to teach them how to fish. And once that happens over time, the volume went down, the complaints went down, everything. So I'm actually proud to say in this role, I have had one complaint since I've been in this role. Like no escalations, no anything. Being able to really think and to provide service, thoughtful service that people want. And the one complaint was, and I know you're familiar with this, person said they called, waited for 40 minutes. You pull the data, she waited for 7 minutes.
Yeah.
So so I ended up getting here, revamped everything. So our CHRO at the time, she was newer. She was going out to the campus and they were like, whatever you're doing on that employment side, keep doing it. Oh my God, I see the difference. I see the difference. I see the difference. She got it from everywhere,
Hmm.
all departments, everywhere she went. So my original role started off as employment customer service supervisor. I started here October 2022. Fast forward to May, I want to say it was April 2024, came into a touch base meeting with my manager, my director, and she's like, "You're being promoted." And I'm like, "Oh, great. That sounds wonderful. What am I doing?" And she let me know about the role and what I was being promoted to do because of the impact I had made on the campus. So
Mhm.
part of the impact was I working directly with my CHRO, which was an incredible experience that I'll always be grateful for because I don't ever know if I'll get it again at that level. She wanted to create an orientation program, and
Mhm.
I was able to work directly with her to create it. I created it in 6.5 months. It is my baby, it's my favorite project. But since we started it, launched it in August 2023, we have welcomed and orientated over 2,000 Spartans.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. And so whenever people come, because the research proves that people stay at an organization when they feel prepared, and that's part of
Right.
onboarding and orientation. And so they get here, I have a whole day planned for them, and that's also a part of another customer experience. So I have a great story surrounding that too. So actually, one of the people who I orientated last year reached out to me yesterday because she had questions about our educational assistance program. So here at MSU, if you're a full time support staff, you get half off of any college courses you take.
Okay.
And I said, "Oh, I remember you from orientation." And she was so elated that I remembered her. But of course, I remembered her. And something else I do in orientation, I actually pass out my business cards and I tell people, contact me. And they do, Joe. And they do for, I've had people, I was actually thinking about a guy named Joe that just came in recently. They
It's okay.
walk in and if they have a problem, they'll walk in and they'll come to me. They'll be waiting for me in the morning. Sometimes they'll call because the campus is big. They don't know who to trust. They don't know who to know, but they
Right.
remember that customer experience from orientation
Yeah.
and having built that trust.
Mhm.
So, May 2024, I started in my current role as an HR customer experience manager. Part of that expanded role was we got a new system, Genesis Cloud, which we did email and phones. And so I had to kind of train everybody in HR who would be using those. It was over 50 people and about 10 managers. I also took over the front desk. So we have an incoming front desk. And so anybody can walk into our front desk. So
Mhm.
again, faculty, staff, over 50,000 students, retirees, we see everyone. And we're really responsive, and not every place on campus is open, but we're always open. So I've had a great opportunity to meet and interact with a lot of people here. So, and yes, it's being in this role, it's been so rewarding and also yet
Mhm.
challenging for a lot of things. Um, when you come into a job that's a brand new position and it results in a lot of change, it can result in a lot of pushback and
Oh, yeah.
questions, from people. And it's to your point, how you mentioned earlier, it is disheartening that people don't see customer service as an actual job, as a profession. Customer experience, it is a profession, it is a skill like every other skill, like an engineer, like a lawyer, like a doctor. And a lot of people say, well, anybody can do it. Anybody cannot do it because
Mhm.
we've all had more poor customer service experience than good ones,
Yeah, without a doubt.
you
That's
know?
why I call it a practice.
Yeah.
Because really it is, right? You're constantly evolving, learning, working on the skill sets. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so during this whole time of getting this job, I've had the pleasure of onboarding and helping 3 team members be promoted. 2 of them in under 18 months, another one in just 6 months come to work for me. She jumped 2 levels. One of my employees who currently work for me, she ended up her probationary period 5 months early. So while building all of this, I'm also a big proponent in developing your staff and providing those building blocks and that support for them because to me, my staff, they're not just a number. They just don't work for me. They are humans with needs and goals and dreams that it's my job as a leader to support.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're never truly a leader until you build one.
Oh, 110%, and that has been for one of the most rewarding experiences for me. I actually had, one of the people who was promoted, their manager called me and she said, "Thank you." She said, "I know it was a lot of work to develop them." They were fresh out of college, first professional job, and you've been around and you know what that means and what
Oh,
that's
yeah.
like. And they were all Gen Z also, all Gen Z people. Right? So I also have my challenges with trying to understand how they work, what they need, how to develop them, and how to communicate business needs in the way that they can understand
Mhm.
and that connects the why for them.
Right.
And so that is really the conclusion of just my whole journey to being in customer experience. I love it. It's something that I thrive on, and that's a compliment that I get often. People say, "Oh, I can just tell you love your job. I know I
Oh,
can
yeah.
tell that you love your job," and I do. I do love my job. I love helping people, and I love what I do.
When we first talked, what fascinated me is most people think about contact center and customer experience as, the support line for, Amazon or somebody like that, right? You just gave, multiple examples of
Mhm.
different ways that customer experience is applied. And a contact center practice in itself in human resource. You're the first ever HR leader that runs a practice focused on customer experience and contact centers that I've had. I mean, on
Wow.
on the podcast,
Yeah.
honestly, I've
Yeah.
only talked to a few organizations that were centric
Mhm.
around human resources, but it's a critical
Mhm.
piece, right? And like you said, it's customer experience no matter how no matter how you slice it. It's still the same thing, right?
They're
Your
the same.
customers just happen to be employees.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So mm, I love it. Well, this is a perfect time to transition. So let's talk about the industry. So, first question: what keeps you up at night when you think about contact center customer experience of the future?
Oof. What keeps me up at night is, the lack of efficient systems.
Okay.
I am a systems thinker. I am a systems leader. I bleed systems thinking. It is for me and my brain. You can if you showed me a process that I had never seen before, I am going to tell you how you can improve it. So those systems keep me up, and the reason why the lack of efficient systems keep me up, Fred, is because that's where the frustration on both ends come in, from employees who are using the systems and for
Okay.
customers who are experiencing what it's like to receive the end impact of those systems inefficiencies,
Right.
right? So it's not always faster. It just could be more streamlined. It can be clearer. Maybe you need screenshots. Maybe you need to change the way you do things. Maybe it's you need to really understand what the customer's concerns are. So, for example, with orientation, you know, when we didn't have orientation, all new employees would just email my team's inbox. And so I went back, Fred, and I clicked through about 5,000 plus emails that customers had sent complaining about when they were onboarding. And that's how I created orientation. And part of that is systems, right? Helping people understand and navigate those systems and eliminate that friction, but also at the same time, encouraging your staff. If you see
Hmm.
a problem, bring it to me. Let's talk about it. Let's work out a solution. Because when
Right.
you talk to people in contact centers and employee experience, a lot of that comes down to system friction.
Hmm.
And I think sometimes because fixing what's in the system can be difficult because you have to deal with politics, you have to deal with people, you have to deal with organizational change. And a lot of people just don't want to touch it. But in my experience, every single issue that we've had here has came down to a system inefficiency.
Yeah. So you're an operator. Of course, you would go to we got to fix the systems, right? Which is actually fitting considering the world that we live in today and
Mhm.
the speed of change. But you're spot on. Yeah, when it comes down to it, change management, just the fundamental, yeah, that's a part of what we do, right?
Yeah,
You just have to. I mean, there's no matter how far artificial intelligence will take us, there will still be humans in this game. Period.
absolutely.
Full stop. I mean, so
Absolutely.
that comes down to, you gotta create and just to get artificial intelligence to work properly, if you don't have the processes and documentation in order, it's just gonna amplify your mistakes, right? Your gaps.
110%.
But you're the first one that has actually said that that's what keeps you up at night, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I do because I'm an
Thank
operator.
you for
I get it.
No,
I
thank you
get
for
it.
it. And actually, we're actually working on piloting a HR chatbot right now. And so I'm like, "Oh, my hands were all over that." Actually, one of
Love
the
that.
greatest compliments that I have taken was, we have a IT team that's over, the Genesis system for all areas, and the main person who's over it, he was like, "Man," he's like, "You are such a tech, you are so technology savvy," and that was, like, the best compliment that I have ever received, because I love that, because, I think there's a balance, but part of it is I'm working on, because what we're trying to do now is, refine, asking the specific questions that our customers are asking us, but I also am training and teaching my staff to go a bit deeper, right? So, yes, we're using it for Q&A, and we're trying to get to answers, but what I'm concerned about is all the things that are in between there.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and I mean, it comes down to yeah, FAQs are easy, right? We've been able
Mhm,
to do that with IBRs for 20 years.
mhm.
This is nothing new. It's really, it's so much more capability exists in the modern technology. Just the question is how to apply it properly, right? And that comes down to you and your team saying, well, no, that's not the way it really works. Let's build it appropriately and make sure the guardrails are there. Um, all right, very good. I love new things that keep people up at night in this space. Um, so how about let's get out your crystal ball.
Okay.
And let's fast forward, let's say 5 years. What do you see, playing out in our space as far as technology, people? Where do you see this all heading?
I think in 5 years, I think those leaders, organizations, and employees who have leaned into properly using AI are going to be the most in demand organizations and are going to usurp all the top talent in the industry. Because again, there is a way to do it and there is a way to do it properly. And the organizations who are not implementing AI properly are going to run into frustrated leaders and employees, and they're going to go elsewhere where leaders have taken the time to implement AI properly. The other aspect that I can see in 5 years is that I see a lot of other people from other industries and other occupations coming into the customer experience space as a maybe like a different career, a second career, or the opportunity to just learn those soft skills. Because,
Hmm.
they always, I think it was McKinsey I was reading, and they, come out with their study every year about the skills that are going to be needed for the
Right.
future work. And all of them are soft skills, Fred. And all of them are skills that are used in the contact center and customer experience. All of them. Every single one. So I'll give you a story about that. So my current employee who ended her probationary period early, she's from China, and she actually has a background in being a teacher and an engineer. She has her master's in material science engineering, but she understood that she had a gap, and so she wanted to come work in customer experience to
Okay.
fine tune those soft skills. Now, how that helps me is that her being a teacher and in engineering, I'm getting that systems thinking, that process thinking. She knows how to
Right.
teach, she knows how she can learn. And so I'm able to usurp all those skills that she has in
Right.
exchange for teaching her customer experience. Right.
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
that's the other thing that I think that will also happen in the next 5 years. Not just people seeking it out, but our industry are gonna start seeking out other people from other occupations to fill a lot of these roles.
Yeah, I mean that's fair and absolutely. The value of different forms of thinking, right? Everybody used to think, when I first started over 30 years ago. I know, hard to believe. I mean,
Yes.
but over 30 years ago, the call center was, I mean, bottom of the barrel,
Mhm,
right? I might as
mhm,
well have been a janitor.
mhm,
Not that those aren't noble occupations, right? All
mhm.
things necessary, all work is still valuable. Where I see it, I'd love to get your feedback on this. If you see the same thing, because we're going to automate, let's say, 70% is where I usually throw my
Mhm.
number out there. We're going to automate 70% of interactions. That means that 30% is going to be really tough. And this isn't groundbreaking. We've been talking about
Yep.
this for a
Yep.
while.
Mhm,
But that means that you need to upskill. That means that the people that are manning those 30% of those interactions are going to have to be high empathy, high EQ, right? Problem solvers,
mhm,
exceptionally patient, and able to work with clients and maintain that posture, to focus on that experience. I gotta believe that one, the people that really dive into customer experience, that their pay is going to increase, their quality of work,
mhm.
all the things that really make a great agent are going to become significantly more valuable. Who've seeing the same? Do you see
Yes.
it the same way? Okay.
110%, 110%. Because what and that's where I dove into, y other, people from other industries coming into the space. Because to your point, as pay ramps up, as we're looking for these very specialized skills, a lot of people who have a baseline of those skills, but then also have those other skills that can help support the work, for that is the future, 110%. Because you need somebody, I like to say, who can think with both sides of their brain.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So, any final words, people who are listening? Any advice? One of the things I like the idea of what would I tell myself when I was younger.
Mhm.
But for those people that are coming into contact centers now, The people that are maybe, running as a supervisor, a team leader, an agent, what would you give them?
I would say do the work to find your voice and what kind of leader you want to be. I'm a huge proponent in leaders really understanding who they are and their values.
Right.
And I don't think you can adequately lead or adequately understand who you are as a leader until you understand yourself. That's self management. I think so many times we tell leaders coming in this space, oh, you need to do this framework and have this and do all these things.
Right.
And they don't spend enough time initially understanding who they are as leaders, which is also another point. Don't always let people tell you who you are as a leader if you haven't had the chance to really discover who you are. I'm presenting at the 2026 ICMI Digital Conference about how I develop my team. And one
Hmm.
of the aspects I share in that is about leaders. Again, understanding your values. What is your leadership philosophy? Do you have a leadership philosophy? If so, what is it? Share that with your team. Use the self evaluation tools. They have Clifton Strengths, they have DISC, they have MBTI. Figure out who you are as a leader and how you're going to lead. Because without that, that's where all the friction comes in as a leader.
Hmm.
Because you're a new leader, you don't know what's going on. You don't all the time have the words to articulate who you
Yeah.
are as a leader and what you're looking for. So that's when those tools comes in. Like, what are your values? So when I hire a new employee, we do this values exercise that I'm doing at the conference. I have them go through and circle their values and share with me how they show up, and I do the same. Right. So, like my top leadership values are service, excellence, accountability, integrity. So those drive every single thing that I do, and I don't have to, play the tape back. I know that came through in this interview, right? You'll be able to go back and say, oh, yeah, yep, that matches. And even with Clifton Strengths. So I took that as well. I share that with my staff when I hire people. I say, look, I want
Hmm.
you to read this. And if you have any questions or on how I lead, and what's great about Clifton Strength is it has, what you're good at, but then also how it can get in the way. So
Yeah.
I'll give a fun one. So my number one is learner. But then it also says, "Hey, not everybody likes to learn." So I have to be careful until I get to know a new employee so I don't push learning or certain things on them,
Right.
right? And I tell them, "Hey, if I'm doing XYZ, you need to tell me. You need to let me know so I can course correct." Right? And because when you find out who you are as a leader and you have the language to articulate who you are as a leader, when you are in conflict with your peers, when you're in conflict with your boss, when you are coaching your employees, you're going to have a better understanding of how to deal with that because you understand who you are and you have the tools to articulate who you are. But without that, you run the risk of somebody else telling you who you are as a leader,
Right.
telling you what your values should be, telling you what you should believe in, telling you how XYZ works. I did with my previous team, we all did the disc together. Right. So
Hmm.
I am, have you ever did this, Fred?
Yeah.
What are you, do you know what you are, what your this style is?
It's been a while.
Is it a while? Yeah.
I'd have to go
Yeah. Yeah.
remind myself. I've
Yeah.
gone much further past this path into the
Yeah.
deeper work,
To the deeper work. Yeah.
which is something I want to get back to because I like this track, because as a leader, I've spent the majority of my adult life leading people, which is only possible in the contact center industry, right? I mean, the fact that I was leading, a very big group by the time I was in my early 20s. It only happens here,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, go ahead. Keep
No,
going.
but I was going to say, so I am DI. you know, um, I am the dominant and I am, I'm I. So that means, I'm talkative and I like to get everybody's opinion. I'm sociable, but I'm also decisive. So we're coming in the meeting. I'm going this one, two, three, four, five. I am like laying it out. Right. And so, but my staff were all opposite of me. Everybody everybody was opposite of me. And so I'm sitting in the meeting going, okay, well, this explains a lot. This explains a lot because, you have, like the SCs who want to talk more, who want to think more about things before you make a change, who want to take things slower. And I'm like, let's go. We're doing this. We're going here. And so again, learning who I am helped me understand, okay, with this employee, I have to slow down. I need to, let them think about this before we talk about this in a meeting, before I make a decision. I need to, talk to them in our team meeting and then in the one on one because they may not be comfortable giving feedback in front of it. I have to let them talk first, so that's one of the things because I like to talk so much. When we have our team meetings or even the touch bases, I let them talk first. 'Cause that's one thing the Clifton Strengths, told me. They're like, because like, people tend to follow and listen to whatever you say, you need to let other people speak first,
Yeah.
right? And so again, understanding myself has helped me understand my staff, which helps me become a better leader for them and for myself. And it helps my development and it helps me evolve. But and I say that from experience because when I got in this role, at first I didn't really understand who I was as a leader.
Hmm.
And so naturally, as a new leader, and you probably remember this, you look around and you try to find somebody else to mimic. And
Yep.
I will say for me personally, that did not work out well at all. It did not work. It did not work for it wasn't my best. I was not my best,
Yeah.
at doing that. And I think that's because of when you something powerful I remember reading that I'll never forget, that, like, you can't really mimic someone's leadership style because 'cause you're not them. You can learn from it,
Oh yeah.
but you can't mimic it, right? And it wasn't until I understood who I was as a leader, how I lead, what my values were, what my philosophy is, um, how that shows up every day, that I was able to really lean into my strengths as a leader.
Hmm.
And I feel like a lot of times new leaders get in the roles and they don't know where to start because they don't know who they are as a leader. They haven't done the work yet. So I
Yeah.
encourage all new leaders, even if you're a team lead, start doing the work. Figure out who you are. What are your values? Share them with your manager. Come to your next one-on-one and say, here are my values.
Yeah.
Here's what I want to tell you. This is how I lead. You think I show up like that? Really dig deep to figure out who you are as a leader instead of just performing like what you think one is.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and it goes back to, I mean, the way we learn, right? First we emulate, then our body and our mind learns, how we and need to move forward, right? And it's I did the same thing, right? My first job, I picked out the leader that I
Yep.
thought I needed to be like,
Yeah.
and I always consider myself in my entire adult life as more of a vampire of knowledge, meaning I take what I need,
Mhm.
and the rest is left behind.
Yep.
And but early on, no one teaches you, and this is one of the things the industry, the practice of contact center and customer experience, we don't do well. You don't see leadership programs, and yeah, I'd say I've
Practical
been in
ones.
contact
Practical
centers.
ones.
Yeah, I've been in contact centers all over the world. BPOs, first party, service support, technical support, debt collections. I've seen it all, and I'd be willing to bet. I mean, I maybe 5% at most had a leadership program, and maybe one out of those, one of the five that I would see actually has, something of value. Because they don't provide the skills, but they don't provide the tools either. They're like, here's your KPIs, here's your expectations of delivery. You've got to coach X amount, per day, yada yada, right? And that's it.
Mhm.
There's no talk about how you think, how you process, how you lead, yeah, and let alone the deep work. And I'm curious where you're at in that journey, because what I found myself going through all of this, learning,
Mhm.
how you think, how you
Mhm.
behave,
Mhm.
getting rid of the bad patterns that I
Mhm.
picked up along the
Mhm.
way from emulating other leaders.
Yep, yep, and that are
Bringing
just
on
knee jerk.
new yeah, bringing on the new good pattern, and
Yeah,
then, of course, learning to control, your mind and being able
emotional
to,
regulation.
yeah, recognize triggers, how to handle those, how to move forward without, impacting others, and all the things that come with leadership, right? But, yeah, I think what's fascinating is I find a lot of people don't even take the leap. And this is where I think, this is the point of this whole podcast,
Mhm,
right? Is,
mhm.
people should, there's a great opportunity to learn, and you will never learn more. Personally, you will never learn more in in a shorter period of time than in a contact center floor.
Oh,
In a
100%,
leadership role, I mean,
100%. Quick,
yeah, yeah, real quick.
quick, quick, and Fred, to your point, just being in this space for 3 years that I have been, one of the comments I typically get, like, is from people, even internally, who work here and externally, like my LinkedIn, they're like, "You've done a lot in, like, 3 years." Well, I was able to do to your point, it's one of the places where you can upskill and expand fairly quickly, especially if you do that deep work. But also understanding new leaders, you are going to make mistakes and that is okay. That I am all the mistakes you are going to make is going to be okay. There is not, don't let any leader tell you that they had a perfect leadership journey coming up because they did not. And I say that because I've had experiences where it feels like somebody's almost saying like, "Oh, and I'm just like,
No.
it's
If someone says they never made mistakes, they're absolutely not the person you wanna listen to. I mean, personally, I've had a million
a
mistakes,
million,
at least, and
a
I'll make
million.
more. Even with all the wisdom and knowledge and depth, I'm still gonna make mistakes.
We're humans.
Half the problem with leadership is you've got filtered data
Mhm,
and information, and you have to make oftentimes, especially in our practices,
mhm.
you have to make split decisions. With again that filtered
Information that you
information.
have because you don't know what you don't know.
Yep, exactly. And
Don't know it.
you will make bad choices. My one of my mentors, that's probably one of the most powerful things that I've learned in leadership is our job, number 1 is to make choices, and number 2, correct the choices that need to be corrected
Mhm.
and
I
double
love
down on the
that.
ones
I
that don't.
love
I
that.
mean, it's simple.
I love that.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
But it's also what you do as a human, right? I mean, you make
Yes.
decisions. We make millions of decisions every day, and our brain just doesn't, for the most part. Yeah, so you just make a choice and move forward. If it needs to be fixed, fix it
Yeah.
as soon as you realize,
Yeah.
and you own the things you need to own. You
Mhm.
need to let go of the stuff you don't,
Mhm.
and keep moving forward. And so, eh,
Yeah, you have to. And
mm,
leadership is back to your question about, like kind of where I'm at with that, what I'm doing now. Again, it's almost like we need a book, what people don't tell you about leadership.
right?
But, leadership is an ongoing journey. It is not stagnant. It is not if you are going to be a good leader worth your salt and anything, you are going to understand that you are going to be constantly learning, adjusting, and changing in order to be who you are. I'm in the middle of reading a book right now. What got you here won't get you where there where you need to go. And part of that is too is as a leadership when you evolve, you also have to understand as a leader you need different things,
Mhm.
and those different things can be the form of different mentors, they could be the form of different information, books, they could be in the form of different professional development things for yourself. And I'd say for me, and I know everybody is a different place with learning, but I would really challenge, especially new leaders, carve out some time for yourself to figure out to learn what you need to learn for where you are. And don't always rely on your organization to do it for you.
Don't rely ever on an organization to do it. I mean, if you love leading people and building new leaders, and when right?
Mhm, mhm,
I remember the moment where I realized, oh my gosh, I really like this.
mhm.
Yeah, and I was standing up in front of a group, and I was actually given a training, kind of a
Mm,
mock training
yeah.
last second. I'm like, I love doing this.
Yeah.
I got the goosebumps, and
Yeah,
then
it
got
just fills you
past.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
that energy and the way I felt like for the next 24 hours, I was like, oh my gosh, here we go.
Completely understand.
Um,
Completely.
and
Completely.
before that, I was I was not the debate or the speech kid.
Mhm.
I certainly had no interest of being up in front of anybody.
Mhm.
And all the other things of growing up with trauma in life.
Mhm.
I was probably, more than likely, one of the last people anybody would have thought to be doing what I'm doing today.
Same. Same here.
Um, here I am.
Same.
Here
Same.
I am.
'Cause some days I'm shocked, I'm like, "I can't believe I'm doing this," but to your point, I do love that's what one reason why I love presenting and training and orientation, 'cause it's like, I get I feed off that energy from the room, and, if you do that, there is nothing like that feeling, from feeding off of that energy in a room, and to your point, not everybody's comfortable standing up in front of people and doing that.
No, no, actually, it's the greatest fear. The number one, fear is
Mhm.
public speaking,
Yeah.
right? I mean, period.
Yeah.
So not a lot of
Yeah.
people can do it,
Yeah.
and do it well.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
I, it's yeah, life's a funny thing.
Mhm.
I agree. Don't wait for anybody to learn. And today, I'm so jealous of all the kids coming up today because you think about, I had mentors that I had to go find,
Mhm.
and I had to show them that I was committed to learning and
Mhm.
willing to listen and try what they did and come back and give them results. I
Mhm.
had to do the hard slog of building a mentor mentee relationship because
Mhm.
mentors don't just find you, and
They
they're
do
not
not.
just going to chase after you to teach you.
They are not. No, they're
You need
not.
to chase after them. But
Mhm.
today, I mean, I literally, my weekends, in deep research, watching content,
Mhm.
learning, I mean, I've got access to anybody.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
You can
some
reach
of the
out to
most
anybody. Yes.
brilliant people in the world, and I can watch a 3-hour the podcast of somebody
Mhm.
who I've been inspired by and listen to the way they think and talk and
Yes.
communicate.
Yes.
I mean, I know. Let me tell you, I mean, when I was a kid, I'm
Back in
doing one
my
of
day.
those, so I'm Gen X, by the way. Don't,
Okay. Yeah, I'm a
so
millennial, so
I'm in that kind of
yeah.
that weird generation. But man, I'm so jealous of the kids. Because the next iteration of this is what they're already doing is taking an entire corpus of a human's history, their writing, their
Mhm.
speeches,
Mm.
putting it into artificial intelligence and allowing you to actually communicate with an AI version of that. Um, gosh, some of the greatest leaders in the world at some point, you're going to be able to just ask questions,
Yeah. Yeah.
and based on their body of work, it'll be able to give you a pretty accurate mentor type of response. I
Yeah.
mean,
It's
the
amazing.
ability,
It's phenomenal.
don't
It's
ever stop
phenomenal.
learning.
Yeah. Don't.
And don't rely
Don't.
on anybody else.
No, and, but I think so many times, it's easy to get into a role and say, "Well, they need to provide me with this," or "They need me, to do this," and, "Oh, well, you don't need to do that," or "You don't." And so, but with that said, on the subject of mentees, the other advice I have, any mentor worth their grain of salt is gonna, at some point, tell you something you don't want, something that is
Absolutely.
going to cut you so deep that you will don't know you might not recover, and it's not their delivery, it's the accuracy of what
Yeah.
they're gonna tell you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
When somebody, well, you always know, right? When somebody gets defensive, it's because probably it hit a nerve, right? And if you know your mind well enough, and if you're doing the work, recognize, I'm with you. Mentors really need to challenge you, and that's part of that growth. I
it is.
mean, to go back to mistakes.
Yes.
They're the only thing that are, to quote Billy Joel, they're the only thing you can truly call your own.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
as far as I go, my greatest learnings have always been my mistakes.
Mm. Mhm.
Period.
Mhm.
If you think back in your life, And it goes back to the wiring, right? The way
Mhm,
we're
mhm.
wired.
Yep.
But at year 5, most of your major neural pathways are are already
Mhm.
built right
Yep.
inside your brain. And then at that point, other than minor neural pathways, if you're going to change a major, it takes extreme pain or extreme pleasure. Now, what's often, the thing that changes us is
Pain.
extreme pain.
Mhm.
That's why they talk
Mhm.
about people hitting bottom in the 12 steps and,
And coming back up
yeah,
and coming out of it. And to your point, growth isn't linear. I think that was one of the best
no,
lessons that I had to learn because everything you see online, people like to give these manufactured
no,
lines of leader, as if it's just when it's actually this and this
yeah.
and then that and then it's not linear. So you're going to have challenges sometimes that make you feel like you're not growing, but you are growing. You're just in
Mhm.
the midst of learning from that challenge and it doesn't feel comfortable. It does not feel good. It doesn't mean something's wrong. You're just in a period of growth. And sometimes you just have to sit with that. You have
Get
to
comfortable
just
with it.
sit with it. You have
Mm.
to sit with that and you to your point, be self-reflective and learn from it. Because not everybody's always gonna tell you what you're doing wrong.
No. Actually, most of the time they won't. In reality, the people that are calling you out on your stuff are the ones you want around you
Mhm.
because most people will let you, you know,
Walk off a cliff
take yeah,
and just
go
watch you
ahead.
and go, "Oh, wow." Splat.
Yeah. Mhm.
Just yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the reality of the world, right? And it's not because I generally believe most people are good. It's because most people are inward. It, our world is created a bunch of people that are so focused on their internal
Mhm,
themselves.
mhm.
Not like the internal deep work we're talking
Nope,
about. I'm just
nope.
talking about they're
Just
just
like
focused on
internal
the
focus on themselves, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
You get me. Yeah, and they're not watching you. I
No.
mean, they really aren't.
Mhm,
Most people don't care. And here's the thing, if you don't continually make those mistakes, recognize them, learn from them,
mhm,
adapt, move forward, accept change, sit in it, like you said, I personally believe you really should own it and hold
mhm,
on to it and learn
mhm,
what you need to, and then let it go.
uh-huh,
Yeah, this has been my challenge my whole life. I'm stubborn, and I learn lessons over and over and over again. Now,
mhm,
as I've
mhm.
gotten older, maybe it only takes 2 or 3 times for me to
Yeah.
learn the
Yeah,
lesson instead of
yeah,
100.
yeah.
But um, yeah, I mean it. Hmm,
So I
uh,
wanna share one of my favorite quotes that I actually have on my wall.
okay,
I'm into the Stoics, um,
okay,
and so this one is from Marcus Aurelius, "The obstacle is the way."
mm, yeah,
So, as a leader, the obstacle was always the way. Whatever obstacle that is, you have to go over it, under it, through it, past it to get like that that's what you need to learn, and that's what really I've been reflecting on for myself. You know, everything I've learned in this role, what else I need to learn, what else I need to work on, and what don't I wanna take with me in my future?
yeah, yeah.
Honest assessment, brutally honest assessment. So I do like some 5-minute journaling every morning, just real quick, just and sometimes you look back on those things, like I look back on the things that I was writing when I first got this job, and I literally was howling the other day, Fred, because it's so elementary. Kinda like the things you're like concerned as a new leader, sometimes the things you're concerned about as a new contact center leader is not they're not really concerns. It's not, you know what I mean? But it take again, growth and time and mistakes, and you can really learn from that. And so that would be one of my other things. Get you a journal, get you a nice journal from Barnes& and Noble, from wherever, and kinda capture your day at the end of the day, beginning of the day, whoever you're at your lunchtime. Capture your leadership journey for yourself and for nobody else. It's
Yeah.
so for you can look at because a lot of times we think, "Oh, Imma remember everything." You won't.
No, no, you
You
won't.
won't. You won't.
And I love your quote that you chose because to me, do the hard thing always. It's something that people we have it so good in
Mhm,
today's world. People
mhm,
don't realize,
mhm.
they complain and whine, because they didn't get enough likes on their social media,
Yeah.
or I for whatever reason. I mean, if you look at history,
Mhm.
we are spoiled.
Oh,
I mean,
110%.
we are
One
spoiled rotten.
110%. Yeah.
People have forgotten that the really good stuff, the stuff that really matters,
Mhm.
is the hard stuff, right?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
the reason why,
Mhm.
even at 50, I still lift extremely heavy. I'm consistent 5 days a week, no matter what.
You
90% of
you
the
have to
time, my
challenge yourself.
diet.
You have
You do.
there's no growth without challenge, Fred. You're
Yeah.
100% right.
Nothing moves forward. No real
Mm-mm,
value is brought out of anything that's easy. You got to do the hard stuff, and that's the way you should approach things. If something's hard, if it's been eating you up, just do it. I
mhm,
mean, just get it done.
yeah, do it. Yeah.
I, yeah. And anyways, we went down a whole nother path, and I love it. And I'm good with that.
Yeah. Yeah, and no,
Yeah.
it was great, and one more quick thing, understand your emotional triggers.
Mm, always.
Um, if you don't understand your triggers, you are going to be a emotionally reactive leader, and that is going to block you from seeing a lot of things strategically clear because you're gonna be inundated with cloudy emotions.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, well, yes. Yes, and this goes back to part of understanding your trauma,
Mhm,
understanding the way your mind works, your pathways, the way you make decisions, what really you believe.
mhm,
Nobody does this. Nobody teaches early stage. I always thought, I always was curious why in the early stages of development, kids really weren't asked, "Hey, what do you really love?
mhm.
Let's explore,
Who you are
what
and what you love and kinda
yeah,
capitalize because I think I wanna say it's either Europe or Germany. They do that with their kids, and so by the time they get to high school, they know what they wanna do, nurse, doctor, whatever, because they have cultivated that, like, through time. So it's not like you get to 18 and, "What do you wanna do?" And nobody's ever asked you until 11th grade in high school, and you've given no thought to it.
yeah. Yeah, well, and we all, the last few generations have been told you can do whatever you want. Me Go ahead.
The
Yeah.
obstacle is the way. No, we all cannot do what we want to do. I would like to be an Olympic athlete like Simone Biles, but I cannot do that, Fred. I cannot do anything. I can't.
Yeah.
I would love
Yeah.
to, but I
Uh,
but you know what it is? It's people want the end result without that hard work, and
yeah.
they see somebody else, like, for example, somebody like you online who has worked for 30 years and built all these things, and they say, "Oh, I can start a podcast and I can do all that." And they have none of the things that you have experienced, and then are confused when the outcome is not like yours. Well, you haven't done the work. You're just seeing the success. You
Yeah.
don't see the challenges. You just see the peaks, the valleys, the ups and downs, the everything that they went through. And I think that sometimes when people, and I can tell this, just about you, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but you are a very resilient person. You have been through different things in your life, but you have been able to work through that and be resilient and bounce back. And sometimes that's misinterpreted as, oh, everything just comes easy to Fred. Well, no, that's not exactly what that means. Fred understands himself and he understands resilience and how he works. And so I think that to your point in the social media age, with everybody being able to flex their success, it's just missing. It's just a missing component of the honesty of what it takes, what hard work looks like, and what it takes
Yeah.
to really build something. Because I,
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you right now, you spend thousands of hours building. I was looking at your website, your pod, like all of this has been thousands of hours.
Yeah. Yeah, it is 30 years of overnight success. That's the way it
Exactly.
is in today's
Exactly.
world, and we just do. This is tiny compared to some people, and I do it because I love it. I
Yeah.
it's I get to talk to people that came up the same way I did through, something that most people look at down their nose, right? Which is the contact center customer experience world. Most people don't even understand it. I talk to people about some of the technology and software and artificial intelligence
Mhm.
and what
Mhm.
we do, what I deal with and talk through on a daily basis and work with. They have no clue.
No,
None.
no.
Yeah, they just think
They
that somebody somehow a phone magically rings and somebody picks it up and they know they have a headset on, right? They know that part. But they don't understand the underpinnings and,
the
so
ins and outs and actually what it takes and how to be, really successful at it, and I think for me, that what has been so great is to see the, appreciation when people see service excellence and they've never experienced it before. That has just been so amazingly, like, gratifying for me. I'll never forget, we had a young lady walk in last year. She was from Africa, and she was a scholar, and there were some issues going on with her pay. She didn't know what was going on. People had gave her the runaround. It was one of those heightened, complex customer service, and she was in person. And so I sat there, I let her vent, and then after I, did your de-escalation customer experience, she goes, "How did you do that?" She said, "I was so angry when I came in here, and now we're laughing and talking. How you just like made me like not mad. How did you do?" And it was so funny, like to see that in like real life for her to be like, "Wait a minute, you just changed how I felt and everything about it." And to your point, it is a practice.
it is.
This is a
It
skill.
is.
This is an actual occupation. This is something that can change lives and organizations and people and benefit others. But one thing I want to put in your ear, and as a consultant, what you do, from my understanding, overall, higher ed is going to through a customer experience crisis because they
Oh,
don't
yeah.
view service as the same, and so a lot of them are struggling in that area because they don't view anything of what they do, even though, like, serving students is customer experience, as that,
Yeah.
and a lot of them are struggling
Mm,
because of that and to provide that kind of service, and so it's been so interesting to see, that kind of full circle moment of people trying to understand what service excellence is and what it looks like. And I actually did some training here for the frontline staff, and I created like a 52-page like resource, and I shared it with. We have a it's called contact centers of practice. So all the frontline customer service teams across campus, I shared it with them, and people use it to train their frontline staff. But it's pretty much an A to Z book in how to de-escalate. How to talk to a customer, email templates, the phonetic spelling when you're on the phone, and how to do all of that. And it was a labor of love. I worked on that for about a year,
mhm.
but it's such a phenomenal resource for people, especially when I have new staff members, because I have them just read through it. And I say,
Yeah.
you need to pull to the front the things that you need for you when you're on the phone.
Have
Like
you thought about putting it out there? I
I
mean,
have, I have, I have. I need to do a couple
come
tweaks.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Fred.
Come
Yeah,
on.
okay, no, okay, Fred. All right, Fred. Actually, it's funny. My husband said the same thing. So yeah, he's gonna be real happy when I go home and tell him this. But no, I need to do some tweaks. I have some goals this year. I'm going to add that to it, and because it is really a great resource for people. Actually, before I officially launched it, it was one of our agents on the other team who wanted to improve her customer experience and how it shows up in Genesis. And so I kind of piloted it with her. And you can see the improvement over time with her using it. And so when I launch it, I always use it as an example to say, like, I piloted it personally with some person and it helped me. So yeah, so to your point, yes, yes, I am going to do it this year. I am going to launch it. I am going to do it. I am going to put it out there, because it's something that, I think will help so many people. And you don't need to reinvent the wheel. A lot of times it is there. And what I love about it, and we're the same with this. I'm very research based, so I spent hundreds of hours combing through peer reviewed research articles. And I got footnotes and headers, and I got like, I think it's like eight. 7 or 6 pages of references that I use, because I don't wanna make people think, "Oh, I just made this up." No, this is research. This is real. This is not, like, something I just made up in the back of my mind. Like, this works. But I would take on that challenge, Fred. I'll take it on.
All right, I'm
I'll
gonna
take
hold
it
you to
on.
that. I'm gonna hold you to that, and as soon as you do, let me know, and
I
we'll make
will.
sure to get it out there too.
I
And I
will.
agree. I mean, the higher ed, has its moment right now where it
Mhm.
really needs to take a hard look, at the way that it services its students, its employees. It needs something like that. Yes, the same way with healthcare. It is
Mhm.
going through a reckoning right now.
Mhm.
And as are a lot of industries. And the good news about AI is it's really the underpinning driver of a lot of this force of, hey, let's take a look at all this stuff. So, all right. So, last question: if you could pick anybody in the practice of contact center customer experience, who would you want to see on contact center journeys?
Think Clarice Merriman. I don't know if you know her. She is a ICMI feature contributor. She is amazing. I told her at the conference she gives very much like Vice President CHRO energy. So she did a culture segment at the ICMI Expo, and it was phenomenal. It was detailed. It was in depth. It was fun. It was just amazing. She is just a very phenomenal, amazing CX practitioner, and she also works in higher ed.
Nice.
Yeah. So,
Well,
I think the more we get more practitioners who are in higher ed to kinda help them get their story out and what it's like
mhm,
behind the scenes. Because to your point, how you talking about nobody knows? Nobody really knows in higher ed. They
mm,
do not have a clue.
it's
They don't know. But I think her point of view, especially working in higher education and everything that she brings, she would be an amazing person to be on this podcast with all of the experience, and
awesome.
the CX contact center perspective that she brings.
Awesome. Love it. We'll have to talk about that offline.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you. We went
Yeah,
well
thank
over
you.
an hour, which I assume we would. But I really appreciate you being on. Yeah, thank you for sharing your journey, and for all those watching at home, appreciate you. And we'll see you on the next one.
All right, thank you
Thanks,
so for having
Bianca.
me, Fred. I had a blast. Thank you.